It's rocking them.
It was rocking.
That is, I mean, if you look at the Dodgers, and I was listening to our buddy Bernie Fratto last night, and he was going on and on about the Dodgers, and you know, I like what I heard because people are understanding, and I saw Bryce Harper, you know, trumpeting the Dodgers. In fact, all Major League team players right now are saying, yes, we love the Dodgers.
Right.
Because every team should be like the Dodgers. They're all
Harper,
saying the Dodgers are the greatest because they are doing what everybody should do.
Yep.
It harkened way back to the day with the Raiders and Al Davis. One of the reasons the Raiders were able to hoard so much talent, especially with veteran players way back when you could do this back in the 70s and 80s, is they took care of players. Al Davis took care of players. And that gets around.
Yep.
See, it gets around. There's a buzz.
Yep.
You want to be taken care of? You want to get paid your worth? Play for the Raiders. He'll take care of you. He pays you. You play well. You get paid more. It's not, and so everybody is praising the Dodgers right now. If you look at the Dodgers on paper, last year, Blake Snell missed half the season. Tyler Glasnow missed half the season. Shohei as a pitcher missed half the season.
Yep.
They're all healthy right now. With Yamamoto, this team is going to win 120 games. Unless they have a rash of injuries, they have lapped everybody in baseball right now.
You got 120?
The record is 116. You add Kyle Tucker, who's been an all-star in this league. If he can return to the form we saw when he was with the Astros, this team is ridiculous.
I like
again,
about
health is
105, 107.
Well, they might lose interest.
Yeah.
But if Diaz if Diaz is lights out of the pen, what?
Yeah.
This team on paper is way better, and you think Sasaki's going to be better his second year, right? They're going to try to get Roki Sasaki into the rotation. They basically are going to use a 6 or 7 man rotation to keep those arms fresh throughout the year.
Shohei will be pitching again.
So, according to BetMGM, the Dodgers win total is 103.5.
Way over,
right there.
over.
And I'll take the over. I'll take the over like 105, 107.
Oh, look at this team on
take
paper.
The under, though. I'll take the under.
And I'm not mad at that.
Why would you say under?
Because I think they're going to. You just mentioned that Tyler Glasnow missed half the year, Blake Snell missed half the year,
and they're going to do that again.
I think they're going to do that again.
No, they're not. No,
you know what?
Because
Bo?
they're going
to by design.
But no, because they're going to take care of their arms. They're not going in with a 5-man rotation.
Yeah,
this
they're going to take care of their
7.
arms, and Blake Snell's going to have a hangnail that keeps him out for a couple weeks. Tyler Glasnow's going to have
I'm not mad at
a blister that keeps him out for a couple weeks.
I'm not mad at what you're saying because you're right. Why would we believe? You know what? I'm going to switch. I'm with you. I'm going to go on there like 98, 97 wins, 99.
They'll win at least 110 games.
No.
They won 111 the other year.
I mean, they might do that by accident, but I would take the under.
Who are the Warriors? A storied franchise.
The Golden State Warriors have just won the NBA championship.
With a quiet leader.
The Curry quick release, splash!
And a not-so-quiet one.
Rejected by Draymond, knocked away. What a block!
And above all,
Yes, it is. Welcome into Warriors Live, 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you for the next 30 minutes as we get ready for Warriors and Nuggets on a Sunday afternoon, a Sunday matinee basketball here at Chase Center. Welcome in. Warriors Live is presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage. Brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. Again, Mark Randy with you, and I am live from Kaya by Burma Love in Thrive City, right outside of Chase Center. The rain has stayed away. I think it's going to stay away for the rest of the day and likely tomorrow too. That's great news. The plaza here at Thrive City is packed. Fans are making their way inside of Chase Center as we speak. Plus, Kaya by Burma Love is popping. All the spots around here at Thrive City are popping. If you're on your way in, maybe you're parking right now, find yourself a place to park, and then as you make your way into Chase Center, you can stop by Kaya by Burma Love, grab yourself something something to eat, something to sip on before you make your way into Chase Center. And if you get here in the next 25 minutes, you can stop by and say what's up. I'll be hanging out here until noon, and I'll be back for post-game Warriors wrap-up here at Kaya by Burma Love. Kaya by Burma Love on the west side of Thrive City, so if you're walking in from the west side, you can't miss it as you make your way into the plaza. Lots of good options to eat and to drink here at Kaya by Burma Love. Okay, let's get down to business, though, because it's the Warriors and the Nuggets Game 2 post-All-Star break. The Warriors, they got the final score wasn't all that bad a couple of nights ago on Thursday versus the Celtics. It was 121-110. Warriors, though, down by as many as 34 in that one. They trailed by 30 going into the fourth quarter. Of course, no Steph Curry, no Jimmy Butler. The big news was that Kristaps Porzingis made his Warriors debut. He played 24 and a half minutes. He played 17-plus minutes, had 12 points, was 5 of 9 from the field, 2 of 5 from downtown. A little rusty, you could tell, to begin, but once he got going, he got into a little bit of a rhythm, and you could see how he was going to fit in this Warriors roster, specifically when Steph Curry comes back and is healthy. Now, we don't know exactly when that's going to be, plus we also don't know about Kristaps Porzingis' future availability. Let's get to the injury report. I guess before I do that, I should set the stage a little bit more with this specific matchup. Injury report is a long one. I'll get to it in a sec. First, though, it's the Warriors playing host to the Nuggets. The Dubs 29-27, still sitting at 8th in the Western Conference. The Nuggets at 36-21. They're the 3rd seed in the West currently, and things are really tight behind them. There's a top 2 that has separated themselves in the Western Conference. OKC, the 1 seed, as they've been basically the entire season. San Antonio is the 2, just 2.5 games back there, and they've won 8 games in a row. They're looking like one of the best teams in basketball, and considering that what they've done to OKC this year, I believe they're 4-1 versus the Thunder, maybe 3-1 versus the Thunder. They're the only team that has been able to take care of OKC on a regular basis. San Antonio has separated themselves from the rest of the pack in the West as well, but then 3 through 7 in the West is really tight, and that group leads off with Denver sitting at 36-21. They're 7 games back of OKC. They are 4.5 games back of San Antonio, but only a game ahead of Houston, the Lakers, and the Timberwolves, and only 3 games ahead of Phoenix. So Denver at 3, 1 game separates them from the 6-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves currently, and 3 games separate them at the 3 seed and the Suns at the 7 seed. So there is a lot of potential jockeying going on, really 3 through 7, even more specific, 3 through 6. And that's going to be the battle to watch, I think, for the rest of the Western Conference season. Because elsewhere, there are, position battles that could be happening, whether you're going to be the 8 seed or the 9 seed or the 9 seed or the 10 seed. But it feels like we have the 10 teams that are going to be in some kind of non-regular season basketball, right? Play-in basketball or postseason basketball. It's just a matter of what order that they finish in. And it does seem pretty confident, pretty clear that the top 6 seeds are pretty locked in as well. Minnesota is currently the 6th, 2 games ahead of Phoenix, who lead off the play-in portion of the standings. Phoenix has just been dealt some injury blows, though. Dylan Brooks broke his hand. He's going to be out a while. Devin Booker also injured, so they're dealing with some issues there. It feels like Minnesota, the Lakers, the Rockets, probably looking pretty good at avoiding the play-in, which means when we try to gauge, playoff races, this is more about positioning, I think, than actually making the postseason in the Western Conference currently. So again, it's the Nuggets, 36-21. Kind of strange for the Nuggets. They are only 15-11 at home this season, despite playing in Denver, which is generally a really good home court advantage, specifically because of the elevation there. But they're an amazing team on the road. They're 21-10 on the road this season. By comparison, the Warriors just 11-16 on the road. The Warriors overall 29-27, 8th in the West, 18-11 at home, and ever since Jimmy Butler went down with that ACL tear, the Warriors have lost 5 consecutive games at home. They're 1-5, but that one win Pardon me. Yes, they are 1-5, 2 consecutive losses at home. They beat Memphis by a single point just before the All-Star break. But ever since Jimmy Butler went down with that ACL tear, they are just 1-5 at home. So that is a major, major issue for the Warriors. Now tonight's going to be really challenging because the Denver Nuggets are in town. They are mostly healthy, we would think, and the Warriors are certainly not healthy. So with that in mind, let's get to our injury report, brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more information, visit boxerlaw.com. First for the Warriors, Steph Curry is out. We know that. He's dealing with right patellofemoral pain syndrome, known more commonly as runner's knee. He's been ruled out for the rest of the month, which means at least 4 more games. He's set to be reevaluated early March, maybe even the 1st of March. Tonight for Steph, his 18th missed game this season, his 7th consecutive missed game. The Warriors 6-11 in their 17 games without him so far this season, 2-4 in this current stretch, the last 6 games without him. Today also means for Steph, he can only play in a maximum of 64 games this regular season, which means he is not eligible for postseason awards such as MVP, All-NBA teams, and the like. Today's absence confirms Steph Curry will not be eligible for any regular season, end-of-season awards, including those All-NBA honors, which is unfortunate for Steph because he has absolutely been playing at an All-NBA level when he has been healthy. But no Steph tonight. Today, I should say. I'm probably going to say tonight a lot when talking about this game because like 98% of Warriors games generally happen in the evening. Tonight, though, it is a Sunday I just said it right there. Today is a Sunday matinee. So just excuse me if I say tonight when referring to this afternoon's Warriors game. But no Steph today. Meanwhile, for the Warriors as well, Kristaps Porzingis was slated to play after he made his debut on Thursday, but he woke up with an illness, and he is out. He is not playing today. Steve Kerr spoke pregame and said, quote, "I haven't talked to him," meaning Porzingis. "I got a text this morning that he's sick at the hotel. He's not even going to come over here. He's pretty sick." Kerr was later asked if this will impact his availability on the Warriors' upcoming road trip, which begins on Tuesday in New Orleans. Warriors in New Orleans Tuesday, in Memphis Wednesday, then they return home. And Steve Kerr was unsure if it's going to impact Porzingis' availability for this upcoming road trip. But no Porzingis today, and he will not even be in the building as he stays at his hotel. He has not yet, of course, found lodging, long-term lodging. He's also not sure if he's going to be a Warrior beyond the next couple of months. So I would imagine he's going to be living out of a hotel or a rental for the rest of the season, but he's not going to be in attendance for the Warriors versus the Nuggets today. Steve Kerr also did say pregame that Quentin Post was going to step in and at least take a big chunk of Porzingis' minutes, which was, again, last time out, only about 17 minutes, so not a gigantic number that the Warriors have to fill, but it's going to be Quentin Post at least as option number 1 to fill in for Kristaps Porzingis. So no Curry, no Porzingis. We know no Jimmy Butler recovering from the ACL tear. Seth Curry is still out as well, dealing with left sciatic nerve irritation. So both Curry's out, Porzingis out, and Butler out, of course, for the Warriors. Meanwhile, for the Nuggets, I said mostly healthy. It's kind of been status quo. They've been without Aaron Gordon for the majority of the season. He's only played in 23 games so far this year. He has missed the last month, but he also missed a couple of months early in the season, been dealing with a nagging hamstring strain. He is still out. Peyton Watson, also a hamstring strain, is out. And Peyton Watson has kind of been one of the surprises in the NBA this year. It's a really deep competition for most improved player. If Peyton Watson perhaps was healthier and hadn't missed the last handful of games and maybe still if he comes back relatively soon and starts playing good basketball again, he could be a guy that gets some votes for most improved player. Because of the injuries to Aaron Gordon and earlier to Nikola Jokic, Peyton Watson was afforded an opportunity that he hadn't been given yet in his career, and just before he went down with the injury, had scored double digits in 21 consecutive games during that stretch. We're talking about 21 games of basketball. That's a little more than a quarter of the season. That's a gigantic stretch. He averaged 20 21 points per game, over 5 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists per game, and was shooting 49% from the field and 43% from downtown. He was having a career stretch, and unfortunately for him and the Nuggets, he has gone down with a right hamstring strain. He is out today as well. Jalen Pickett off the bench, also out for the Nuggets, so no Aaron Gordon, no Peyton Watson, no Jalen Pickett. Jamal Murray listed as questionable, dealing with right hamstring tightness. Up to the minute injury report still lists him as questionable, so I don't yet know for sure if Jamal Murray is going to play. If I had to guess, I would guess yes, but that is purely just a guess on my point. The big name, of course, for the Nuggets is Nikola Jokic. He is playing in this game. He missed 16 games, basically the entire month of January, but he's been back for the majority of February, and he's playing like he normally does. Nikola Jokic is an amazing basketball player and certainly going to be a challenge for the Warriors against Jokic today. So that's the injury report, again brought to you by Boxer and Gerson. The quick notes here: no Steph Curry, no Porzingis, and then for the Nuggets, no Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson, and Jamal Murray is still questionable. Let's get to our Take It to the Bank prediction, because I do want this to lead into something else that is kind of a big story around the Warriors right now. Take It to the Bank prediction is brought to you by Fremont Bank, here for you, here for good. I'm looking at Pat Spencer's assists today. Obviously no Jimmy Butler, no Steph, no Porzingis. Draymond Green, as Steve Kerr has said multiple times, is no longer a surefire closer. That means more touches over the course of an entire game for Pat Spencer. So I'm going over 5.5 assists for Pat today. His last 3 games in the assists category, 7, 4, 7, and 7. So this number has gone over 3 of his last 4 games. He started all 4 of those games. I imagine he's going to start again today. The bottom line for the Warriors is, without Steph and without Jimmy, the Warriors just don't have enough ball handlers and playmakers, and Pat is one of those few guys left and available on the roster. It's why I think he's starting. It's why he is getting a lot of minutes. It's why the ball is in his hands a lot, and if that's the case, I feel pretty comfortable about over 5.5 assists for Pat Spencer. You can go ahead and lock that one up. That is our Take It to the Bank prediction, brought to you by Fremont Bank, here for you, here for good. Okay, with that in mind, though, I mentioned Draymond Green and how Steve Kerr has talked about how he's no longer a surefire closer, and why I think that means more touches for Pat Spencer. One thing that Steve Kerr was asked pregame today, he was asked if he ever needs to tell Draymond, perhaps, don't shoot those open threes, maybe after you missed 1 or 2 to begin a game. And Steve Kerr said, quote, I want him taking every open 3. He's very capable. But then we listened to what Steve Kerr said about Draymond Green on Thursday with Willard and Dibbs, and I want to hear some of these cuts, guys. So Draymond has been struggling, specifically of late, but it has happened throughout stretches this season. In his last game on Thursday versus the Celtics, Draymond Green did not close. He was not part of the group that helped the Warriors back in that game. He played 18.5 minutes, was scoreless, 0 for 7 from the field, 0 for 5 from downtown, and was a minus 28, which means the Warriors were outscored by 28 points when he was on the floor. The very next day, on Friday, with Willard and Dibbs, on these very airwaves, Steve Kerr was asked about Draymond Green's struggles, and he said they were related to Steph Curry's absence. Here's Steve Kerr on Friday with Willard and Dibbs talking about Draymond's struggles and Steph's absence.
I think it's directly related to not having Steph. I mean, you know, the Steph Draymond pick and roll is something that we kind of built our team around for the last, decade. And it's one of the most efficient plays that exist in the NBA, and it's also pretty unique the way those two guys do it. You know, it's not just a traditional pick and roll. There's all kinds of variations that come out of it. And because of Steph's incredible shooting range and gravity, people have to defend that in certain ways, and that unlocks Draymond's ability to catch the ball in the pocket and then make plays. And so when you don't have that, it means that you lose some of Draymond's offensive firepower, and then teams play us differently. And so it's definitely been an adjustment period for all of us, but especially for Draymond, playing without Steph.
All right, that's Steve Kerr on with Willard and Dibs on Friday, essentially saying it's not the only reason. He's not saying that Draymond can only play well when Steph is on the floor with him. About that Steph's absence impacts Draymond perhaps more than anybody else. Because, of course, it impacts everybody, but so much of what Draymond does is off of what Steph Curry does, and it's why those two have been such a good duo for over a decade now. But there is no doubt that Draymond tends to struggle a little bit more when Steph isn't on the floor, and Steph is not going to be on the floor for at least the rest of the month. He'll be reevaluated, I would guess, on March 1st, sometime right around then. And usually what happens with the reevaluation is not an immediate he's ready to play. The next reevaluation generally says, all right, he's going to begin ramping up, and maybe he'll be able to play when they return from the road trip or however, wherever they are in their schedule. So we'll see. He might just miss the next 4. He might miss the next 6 games. We'll see how it all plays out. One thing for the Warriors is, because of the standings right now, as we were talking about this earlier, it is possible the Warriors could fall from 8 down to the 9 seed and maybe down to the 10 seed. It is nearly impossible for them to fall out of the play-in, and the last play-in spot is that 10 seed. Now, of course, you'd rather be the 7 seed, you'd rather be the 8, you'd rather be the 9 than be the 10, but really no matter what the Warriors do, even if Steph were to miss the rest of the regular season, I feel very, very confident that they're going to be, at worst, the last play-in team, which means you have to win 2 road games just to win the right to play OKC, which does not seem fun. It's not a good spot to be in, but it's not like the Warriors are in any danger of falling out of the play-in entirely. All of the teams out of the play-in in the West are trying to lose basketball games right now. The Grizzlies, the Mavericks, the Jazz, the Pelicans, and the Kings. And they are already all at least 7.5 games behind you. So it would be really, really tough for any of those teams to catch you. Even if the Warriors were to lose the rest of their games, there's a chance that's still good enough to be the 10 in the West, because everybody else is interested in losing. So we'll see how it all plays out. The point is the Warriors probably don't feel a ton of pressure to rush Steph back, but everything they're saying about how they have a ton to play for and they've got a lot going for them and they still feel like they are in this playoff picture, if that is accurate, then we will see Steph, I would imagine, sooner rather than later, at least once the reevaluation comes. But there is not a ton of pressure to get Steph back ASAP, just considering what the Western Conference standings are. With that in mind, Willard and Dibs did ask Steve Kerr about this thought, because there's a lot of Warrior fans, and I see this on Twitter a lot of Warrior fans that say, you know what, just wrap it up. This season is over. Rest Steph for the rest of the season, get him ready for next year, get him healthy. Steve Kerr was asked about that idea on Willard and Dibs on Friday, and here's how Steve Kerr answered. Again, the thought that the Warriors should protect Curry and hold him out for at least a big chunk the rest of the year. Here's Steve Kerr reacting to that idea on Friday with Willard and Dibs.
What are we protecting him for? We're not going to do anything silly, obviously. We are protecting him, but as soon as he's healthy, he's going to play. That's what this is about. We have lots to play for. We're right in the mix in the playoffs, and this is an injury that's been nagging him, but it's not like this is something that's going to hurt him next year if we put him out there now. So it's just injury management. As soon as he's healthy and ready to go, he'll be out there.
All right, that's Steve Kerr on Friday. As soon as he's healthy and ready to go, he will be out there. He's just not healthy and ready to go just yet. This is, again, for Steph Curry, another missed game. It is the 18th game he's missed this season. The Warriors 6-11 in the 17 without him so far. Jimmy Butler's missed 18. They're 6-12 without him. Draymond has missed 9. They're 4-5 without Draymond so far this season. So we'll see what the next handful of games holds, including today versus the Denver Nuggets. One more from Steve Kerr. He was asked if the Warriors would consider bringing Draymond Green off the bench. Here's how Steve Kerr answered that question from Willard and Dibs on Friday.
We haven't really talked about it. One of the things that we're trying to do is maintain some continuity. And if you start changing the lineup, especially with Kristaps coming in, it gets tricky. Now you start making multiple moves, then Steph comes back, hopefully a few games from now, and it's, now you're changing the lineup again. So we're trying to maintain some consistency and then just make our moves, within the game, depending on what's needed.
All right, that was Steve Kerr on with Willard and Dibbs on Friday. This is Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage, brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. Again, Mark Randy with you live at Kaya by Burma Love in Thrive City, right outside of Chase Center. Stop by, grab yourself something to eat, something to drink before you make your way in to Chase Center for Warriors versus Nuggets. Yeah, and what Steve Kerr was referencing there at the end of that piece of sound, he was talking about we don't want to have to change lineups around, and then when Steph comes back, maybe when Porzingis comes back, you have to then change the lineups again. You want to establish some sort of continuity, and the continuity the Warriors are hoping for includes Draymond Green as a starter. But what he was referencing there at the end was that things elsewhere in the game might change, and elsewhere specifically for Draymond Green. As you noticed on Thursday versus the Celtics, Draymond Green did not close. You remember that game? It was the second to last game before the All-Star break, that come-from-behind win versus the Grizzlies, where they closed on an 11-0 run. Draymond Green was not on the floor for that. A couple of weeks ago, I believe it was, 2.5 weeks ago now, on a Thursday, the week before the All-Star break, it was the come-from-behind win in Phoenix, and Draymond Green did not close in that game either. So there are changes being made to Draymond's role in that sense. Just not necessarily is that going to change for Draymond Green in the starting lineup. Steve Kerr seems pretty stuck, pretty solid on Draymond Green starting. Steph ideally should be back early March, and that should make that pairing work better. And if you get Porzingis back as well, which you expect to, it's an illness, not a new injury per se for Porzingis, then the Draymond and Porzingis front line is something that we could really get used to seeing as well. All right, that's going to do it for Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage, brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. I'll be back at Kaya post-game. For now, though, Tim Roy standing by in Chase Center. Warriors versus Nuggets. Matinee basketball coming up next on 95.7 The Game.
Ready for your next adventure? Welcome to San Francisco